All right, I'm here with another tier list. The first tier list we've done in a while. A few years ago, I did video game console tier list, but now I'm going video game controller tier list. So let's see what kind of tier list I can make. Let's see what kind of horrible opinions I can have, and let's just go from there. So some of these, this is a pretty extensive list. There's like 30 controllers or something like that. Some of these I don't have any experience with, or a little bit too niche, so I'll just skip over them if that happens. But we'll start with DualShock 4. So I like DualShock 4. I thought it was pretty good. Don't use it anymore. I'm using the DualSense now. But DualShock 4, nice feel. I'm not as big. I like offset sticks. So, something like an Xbox controller might do a little bit better for me. But DualShock 4 is still pretty good. I will put that kind of comfortably. I'm either thinking A or B. I'll say because the battery life was never great. I hate that big light bar on the back of it that really just drained the battery and was really kind of useless. I'll put it at B tier. The touchpad that just ended up becoming a button, and now they have to have that on PlayStation controllers for life. Not great. So yeah, I think B tier is probably pretty safe for that. B is still pretty good, but as far as this list goes, I would say C is kind of average. So B is, pretty good, above average. I wouldn't complain about that. So the Wii Remote and Nunchuck. This one's going to be tough because I like the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, and I don't like the Wii Remote and Nunchuck at the same time. I don't like the fact that there's not a second stick, so there's like no camera control. Pointer controls and the Nunchuck and everything can work really well for a game. And sometimes they cannot. So I think I like Pikmin, like those work really good with the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, but most of the time, it's not always the best experience. I don't know. It depends. It varies so much. I'll put Wii Remote and Nunchuck. I mean, it's comfortable. You get to spread out a little bit, but it does have a wire. I'll put it in like the C tier. Like, I can't go too far either way because I could see, an argument for D and I could see an argument for B. I can't really see an argument for anything higher or lower, so I'll put it kind of right in the middle. Okay, so the three original PlayStation controllers, the DualShock 1, the revised PlayStation 1 controller, DualShock 2, DualShock 3, they're all essentially the same controller. And this might be one of my worst takes. I don't like this controller. I'm so glad that they kind of moved on and made it different, the same but different. I mean, it's a pretty similar controller as far as things go. So, like, I kind of, I don't know. I'm torn because I think this controller, is uncomfortable. I think it's like too small. Like the sticks are a little bit too high and they're a little bit too close together. Um, and I just hate the little, the wings on the side they're way too short. I don't know if wings is the right term, but you know what I mean. They're too short, so they're like it feels really small. They're not very good. You drop this controller and it's over. It's completely over. So it's not a great controller by any means. I am going to put these in the D tier. I'm sorry to say, this is going to be unpopular, and I would put this one in the C tier since it's at least wireless, but I hate the triggers on this thing, so it has to go in the D tier as well. So yeah, like I think like as far as that goes, I don't like that controller. I know this one's gonna be contentious probably, but I just don't care for it too much. Um, let's see here, Game Boy. So I guess it is a control input. It does count. Um, I don't know. I mean, the original Game Boy is not great. It doesn't feel great to play on. It's not the most comfortable. I'd probably put that in the D as well. I'm sorry. You know, New 3DS XL. I guess that's the only 3DS. Oh no, they have the original 3DS. Okay. I like the new 3DS XL. I think it's pretty comfortable. The circle pad was never my favorite, but it does the job. I understand why they went with that since it has to have that clamshell design. So the little nub I thought was going to be horrible for camera controls, and it ended up being really great. I'd put the new 3DS XL. I have a problem with handhelds because it like makes my hands numb if I play them too long now, just because they're so small and so cramped. So I would have to say probably B tier for new 3DS XL. And we got the Duke. I mean, what else can we do except straight to F tier. Come on, guys. Like the Duke Xbox controller, the original Xbox controller before the Model S, the Duke is atrocious. The buttons are that horrible oval shape and like they're, kind of slanted, and it's just awful. The D-pad's bad. It's so uncomfortable. It's so ugly. I don't know what they were thinking with that thing. I am so glad that they changed it. But man, just man, uh, I just don't know what they were thinking with that one. DS, Nintendo DSi XL. I really like the DSi XL. I think it's pretty comfortable. It's a good size. You know, I feel like it's just not too much different than the the B tier for the 3DS XL. I would say that the smaller versions of these systems are going to go lower just because they're more cramped. But I think for those two, I think that's pretty good. And we got our first S tier, guys. GameCube controller. Okay, so GameCube controller, I have my problems with it, right? I don't like the C stick very much. It's the little nipple C stick isn't my favorite by any means. I don't really like that much. But as far as other things go, D-pad is not great either. But I like the triggers. It's so comfortable to hold. I really like the button layout, and I know that's contentious these days. People prefer the diamond button layout, but I really like this. And you play some of these games, and it makes sense where it's like, oh, okay, so the main action button is the big green A button. Great controller, awesome controller. First S tier. DS Lite. I'm not crazy about the handhelds being on here, but I'll allow it. I would have to say DS Lite is lower just because it's cramped. And let's get the stupid 3DS out here too. Lower just because it's a little cramped, but still not bad. Game Boy Advance SP. I don't care too much about the feeling of the Game Boy Advance SP, just because. And I'm counting this just as a controller input. I'm not counting it as like the system itself or the games or anything, just as a control input because this is a controller tier list. I would say it's a little bit too close together. It's a little too cramped, so I'm putting this not too high. I think that's going to go in the D tier. All right. Uh-oh. The Wii U gamepad. Move over, GameCube. Move over. Wii U gamepad takes the S tier. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Let me get that back. Wii U gamepad is tough, all right? So it's not uncomfortable. It's not too bad. It's just I. The problem is I would never choose to use the Wii U game when I was playing on Wii U, when that was like Nintendo system, the most relevant Nintendo system at the time. I would, if there was an option to use the Pro controller, I would always take it. I never wanted to use the Wii U gamepad if I didn't have to. And it had some cool ideas. It had some cool uses sometimes. Sometimes it was really great when you could have like a map on there and just look down. But I don't know. The screen quality I never thought was great. It was, kind of blurry. It wasn't the best screen quality. They have a lot of problems now. They're not the most, reliably built, Nintendo unit. So I don't know. I would put it in the kind of average C tier. It has its benefits, but it's just brought down by its kind of cheapness and not always the best. So I can't, reward it too much. Xbox 360. So I feel like this is, when you think of a game controller, this is like the video game controller, the classic Xbox 360. And for that, I would put it in A tier. I never liked the D-pad or the shoulder buttons is my thing. So I'll put it in B. It's still good, but I was never crazy about it. And I think Xbox improves on the controller moving forward. NES. All right, guys. I mean, first of all, iconic, right? Iconic looking controller. We all love the design of the controller. We all love how it looks. But do we love how it feels? It gets the job done for playing these games. But do we like how it feels? Do we like the complete rectangle? Do we like how it's small when we're grown men playing a 30-year-old game console? Do we like the corners digging into our hands? As a controller, I'm not crazy about the NES controller. I got to put it in D tier. It's not an abomination, but it's not my favorite. N64. Once again, guys, move over. S tier, S tier, S tier. No. So N64. B is not the final placement. I just said it there for a second. N64 is kind of in a weird place where I don't hate it. I think it works really well for the games made for it. Like Mario 64 or Ocarina of Time just feel right on the thing, you know? Um, I don't think it's, too bad, but I mean, it's certainly weird. It certainly doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's also iconic too. You think of it and you're like, man, you know, there's such a unique way of this is what they decided to go with for it. And I gotta say I don't despise it as much as people like, but I also think it's a little bit I don't know. I also think it's a little bit not great. I'll put it in C tier. That might be contentious too, but I just don't like. I don't find it uncomfortable, except the plastic stick. I got to put it in the D tier for the plastic stick. But if it had a rubber stick, it would be C tier. The Saturn controller. It's fine. It's not great, but it's fine. I would say it's perfectly average. I don't. This is the Pokken Tournament Switch controller. I'm skipping over that. I've never had one of those. I don't care about that. The Fat DS. Whatever. I never really used one of these because I got the DS on DS Lite, so I can't really judge that. Game Boy Color goes in the same as Game Boy, just because I don't. It doesn't feel like there's a good place to rest your index fingers. That's the main problem with it. I just don't know where to put them when I'm playing this thing. So that's where it goes. Xbox One and I guess Series X, like the modern Xbox controller. I like this thing a lot. Much improved D-pad. Nice feel to it. I don't know. I like it. It's a little cringe. I'd put it in S, but it has AA batteries. Like, come on, man. It's 2023. They're still selling Xbox systems with AA batteries. So I'll put it in A. I feel like it can be our first A tier as we're rounding out this list. Um, but moving on, I don't know what this is. And we got Super Nintendo later, so I'm going to skip this. I think this is some kind of 8-bit do thing or whatever. Switch Pro Controller. I think this thing is excellent. S tier for sure. Offset sticks are great. I love the big buttons. The big buttons feel awesome. I think the bumpers are good. I feel like the triggers are good. I really like this thing. It's really comfortable. I think this is like the, kind of perfect modern game controller where it's like, this is everything I need. I don't need, lights coming out of it. It has an insane battery life. This thing will last like 40 hours, 30 hours. It's a great battery life. I don't need lights coming out of it. I don't need anything fancy. This thing gets the job done and it's great. So that's an S tier, pretty easy. I don't know. This is like the backbone. I don't care about that. Switch, though, it's a system of highs and lows because the Joy-Cons, guys, I mean, straight up F tier. Like, just straight up. I'd even put the Duke higher up because, no, I'm not going to do that, but, straight up F tier. I don't like the Joy-Cons. They're fine on the system, right? But even then, I don't like how small the buttons are. I don't really like the sticks. And then using this thing on its side is just horrendous. Trying to use, I don't like them very much. They have the stick drift. I've never had stick drift, actually. I've only ever had stick drift on the PS5 controller, but I know that's a common issue with them. I just don't really like these things. They're fun in the fact that you can kind of, I don't know. They're fun in the fact that you can kind of like customize them and make your system look different. But as a use thing, right, I just don't think it's amazing. I really don't like them for actual use. Super Nintendo controller, another like trusty. This is like the Switch controller is like the perfect modern controller. The Super Nintendo controller is the perfect classic, retro controller. You can't ask for much more. I like the indented and then regular buttons. I like the triggers feel pretty good. It's everything you can need. I don't think it's as great as something more modern, but I think as far as retro controllers go, it doesn't get much better. Let's see. We got the Vita. The Vita, it's fine. The Vita is perfectly fine. I feel like it does the job. It's not uncomfortable, but I also don't love the feeling of it. I'll put it in C. I never had a PSP. I've never had a PSP, so I'm not going to rank the PSP. Dreamcast controller, guys, you know that I'm a huge Dreamcast fan. You know that I collect for the thing. I have almost every game for the system. I'm going for the full set. You guys know I like the Dreamcast. The controller, I don't really like. Awful D-pad, awful stick, awful triggers. The shape is weird. The The wire coming, I was going to put it in D tier, and then I remembered the wire comes out of the bottom. I'm sorry, guys. I got to put this in F. I got to straight up put that in F tier. I can't do this. And I almost feel like Dreamcast controller. No, it's not the worst controller. It isn't. So, but oof. I don't even know what they were thinking with that one. I really don't. And this is an 8-bit do or 8-bit do, whatever they are, controller. For the I didn't have that, so this is just gonna end. It's gonna end, kind of anticlimactically. What do you guys think of this list? Is this the worst thing you've ever seen in your life? Do you want me to die? I don't know. This is. I feel like there's a few contentious ones, but I don't know. When I see tier lists and they're giving out too many S tiers and A tiers, I'm like, man, and too many F tiers. Like I feel like you should have most of your stuff in like the B, C, and D tier. So I feel like I did that well. Maybe I was a little bit too harsh with some of the D tiers, but I don't know. Controllers, it's like the most important thing. It's the thing you interface with the most when you're playing a video game. So it has to be nice. It has to feel good. And when you're sitting here with the Dreamcast controller and you hate your life playing Resident Evil Code Veronica or like Floygen Brothers or something, like you don't want that. So this is my list. Leave a comment down below what my best and worst take was on this one. Other than that, though, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Follow me on Twitter at ObjoGaming. Leave a like if you enjoyed this, or you can leave a dislike if you didn't enjoy it. I understand that completely. And until next time, I'd like to thank you for watching.